Right, so moving on from what's happening with publishing through to a little touch of digital activism, actually, and it's a question for Lesley. So we know that Soil Association has had major success in innovation and digital activism for Food for Life, for example, which is where all the millions came in and you were able to raise so much, Lesley. And it's been reaching out to schools, giving communities access to seasonal and local and organic food and information about that and how to drive it through into the UK agenda. In your opinion, how big a part does digital play in social change in the future?
Okay, well, I guess most of you know who the Soil Association are. If we're going to talk about activism, then I guess you'd describe us as food activists. And if we're going to talk about content, then the Soil Association certainly has shed loads of it, if the magic word is content. And one of our big successes has been getting high-quality information out there to allow freedom of choice to consumers. And you can only witness that through the increase in organic in supermarkets and the expansion of farmers' markets and box schemes and so on and so forth. So, you know, interaction apart, that's one of our big successes. Now, Jay has just mentioned Food for Life Partnership. We've worked very closely with Nameless on the website and our lovely activity log, which I'll say something about in a minute. But if you were to go on to our Food for Life website and have a look at the food tube section, this is where I wish I'd said put it up, because I can't be what I'm going to describe to you, but I'll do my best. And on the food tube, which actually is linked through YouTube, we've got some absolutely fantastic video clips of our school awards from last year. And the interesting thing about looking at information in that format is it narrows the distance between the digital and physical reality hugely. You've only got to look at this and the enthusiasm and the excitement, and you're in there with it. You're participating. So just to give you a couple of examples, I've got this amazing school, St John the Baptist in Hackney, inner city school in London, where the gardener's up there describing the work he's doing with the kids gardening and harvesting the Brussels sprouts, and one young rude boy digs his teeth into this Brussels sprout and goes, crunchy. And the next minute the guy's out in the playground, and these guys are out there with the Brussels sprouts shoved into their pockets, handing them out like sweets. And the gardener with a big beam on his face says, God, this really makes it worth it. And then you look at St Peter's School, who were our school of the year last year. They do the whole story right the way through from garden to plate. And the school cook is beaming from ear to ear because she's delighting in cooking the produce the kids have brought in from the garden, and the kids are so excited about eating that food that they've produced. You know, you're in there with them. You can't help but get excited to see this. And even better than that, when you've got two-way communication and you've got the students themselves producing the video, and you've got the likes of St Winifred's in Yorkshire having produced a video where they go out onto the extensive beef farm, low input, who supplies the local butcher whose family has been working in the local area since 1896, and the school is now sourcing its beef from them, and the cook is delighted to demonstrate to the interviewer the horrible fatty mess that was the beef that they used to use in their mince. Fatty, gloopy, put in a vacuum pack, smells a bit horrible, and then compares it with this wonderful meal they're cooking with lovely, happy beef, very lean, from the local farm down the road. So, you know, there's some fantastic stories there, and you can't help but want to get in there and get your hands in the soil and do a bit of growing and cook the food that you've grown and enjoy eating the food. So the whole story's there, and that interaction is great. Now, what we want to do at the Soil Association is take things a step further. But we're a charity, and we have to raise money to do everything that we do. Now, the Food for Life Partnership project is a very successful project with quite a lot of money. And it's having a great impact, and I wish we could show you some of the stuff online now. So do go into the website and have a look at it. I think Emma, the director's here this evening somewhere, and I'm rather hoping she might have brought a few things with web references on them so you can all go in there and have a look. But the number of opportunities that we would have for web fora with the various stakeholders that we have in the Food for Life Partnership are huge. So I was talking to Jeanette Orry this morning, dinner lady extraordinaire, who's our specialist in training cooks. And she was saying, well, we take cooks onto organic farms and we train them. They see the stuff growing, they cook fresh seasonal produce, they get very excited about actually what they're doing in the training, but even more excited about the networking they do afterwards. They're all swapping mobile numbers. Now, wouldn't it be great if we could get them to interact on the web? However, You look at the average primary school cook. They haven't got access to an office, never mind about a computer. It's very unlikely their mobile phone is internet active. So we're talking about a digital divide here, and I know this question's coming up, so I'm going to leave it hanging. Because, you know, elderly people and access to healthy food is another issue. Digital divide there, possibly, we might ask ourselves. So one of the other questions, I think, about two-way interaction is what do we do with information when we get it back? Well, you know, we as an organisation have been quite successful in sticking up online petitions. We've got a brilliant honeybee one at the moment. It's up in everybody's consciousness, isn't it? The honeybee decline and the fact that pesticides are, you know, causing us, and it's going like a bomb. So that's another way that we get feedback. But we're also outside Food for Life Partnership looking at interesting things like low carbon work with our farms. And we want to get some nice user-friendly feedback from our farmers. And it's got to be blinking user-friendly and easy. If it's a farmer, you know, they need to have the time to do it. So what are we going to do with this information if we get this back? Well, clearly, you know, if we can demonstrate that there is a wonderful link between sustainable agriculture and reducing your carbon footprint, perhaps we might get some policy changes. And, you know, and getting policy changes is the other big issue, isn't it? Pushing that debate. So she's going to floor me now. The last thing I want to say is there's some brilliant people in this room here, and it exercises me to actually try to do all this stuff and make it more accessible and more affordable. Let's get some of the infrastructure bots together with organisations like us and start talking about how actually we can make this happen.
Food for thought, indeed.